Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the AVFC Faithful podcast with, of course, Dan and James back again, coming at you on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you're getting your podcasts nowadays. Feels great to be saying it. A relatively normal episode this week, James. Both of our predictions were relatively wrong, I believe, last week, if I've got that correct. But
I was close. I said, what did I think? I said it was going to be 2-1. I think I
yeah,
said.
but you did. I think you did a sneaky little. It might also be a
Yeah,
draw.
I said it's a game that I think could either be 1-1 or 2-1 to us. So
you
yeah,
cheated, really.
I'm gonna take half a point. You know.
Well, I'll sit on my lofty 0 points of predictions correct at the moment. But obviously, yeah, as mentioned, we'll run into it straight away. West Ham 1, Aston Villa 1. If you're going to look at games back as a Villa fan, that's probably not one you want to watch back. It wasn't the most. I think I said to you, actually, the whole message I sent to you afterwards was that was shite. And you were like, the performance was right. I was like, yeah, but watching a football game like that is just not what I want to be doing with my time.
Yeah,
it wasn't a great watch. I think you mentioned before we started, we had a bit different viewing experiences of it.
Yeah, well, I was streaming it in a pub, trying to keep up with it at a kids' party in a pub. So it was hard to keep on top of it at the same time. But I do remember like the majority of it, and I think it wasn't thrilling, as you say. But I think West Ham made it that way in a sense. I think they were happy to sit back a little bit more, be a bit more compact. I don't think they pressed for a single minute of the game.
No.
So it was more on us to probe, and when that's the case, it's going to be a little bit slower in the first phase, which we were basically in that phase quite a lot. And then I think as the game went on, it started to become a little bit more open. I don't think Emery would have been too pleased with that. I think he said that the second half it was a little bit too open. I think we tried to be brave. We committed a lot of men forward, pretty much in their half for quite a lot of the time, sustaining attacks, and then we were happy to like give up space in behind for them to go long into, which they did a couple of times. But it was one of those. It's the bit of the cliche at the moment. You know, we lose that game a year ago, etc. And
yeah,
it is important when you're trying to get up the table that you turn games like that from losses to draws, and some of the draws to wins, which we tend to do now. So you know, it was another point on the board, another away point. So. It wasn't thrilling, as you said, but overall, I still came out of it positive because I can still see the steps that we're taking.
Yeah, that the first thing that comes to my head is the move where the build-up's good to before as well, and then McGinn plays it to Moreno, cuts inside, passes it to Jacob, and he passes it in. Really neat little pass to Watkins, which should have been a goal, but I was discussing with the lads I was watching there. So you see a finish like that and you think, how did he not score? And then you kind of look at it and you think, well, the only way he scores that really is if he scuffs it. He's hit it too well. He's got such a good connection on it that it's directly down the middle where he can only pull it there. It comes at him too quick. But it's one of those where you look in and you go, that's the progress. And someone actually tweeted this to me. Unfortunately, I don't have their name up at the moment. But they said that the orchestra finally has a conductor, and I really like that. Whilst these players, you know, as we'll talk about at some point, may not all be here forever, and they're probably not the nature of players we want to be taking us up the league. There's clearly enough there that you can see at least what Emery wants to bring. And I mean, to make the moves we were doing away from home these games against the likes of West Ham, Palace, Everton, Bournemouth, they're not going to be good games. Yeah. Unless you're scoring 3 early goals, they're going to be so scrappy because they're fighting. Every team is fighting at the moment, and they reckon everyone reckons they can get 3 points anywhere, really, that bottom 8. And we're going to be one of those where they think you've got to get a point away at Villa, you know, or at home to Villa, you've got to try and win. And whilst West Ham didn't exactly try and win, they clearly set up not to lose. They clearly set up to frustrate us. And those balls in behind were, whilst I think Maxwell Cornet came on and was offside 3 times in a row. It was clearly their plan was to sit back and then lump it forwards and hope that Ings, Benrahma, Bowen could just latch onto it.
Yeah,
and it worked enough, but I was chatting about it during the game, and it's so disappointing the manner of which you concede there, because whilst it's not a game you're completely dominating, it's a game. Realistically, if it was 0-0, you wouldn't be complaining. But we'd done enough to score. They'd done nowhere near enough to score. So just that's your game. Then you're away at this ground. It's going to be difficult. Just see it out. And then I think, well, obviously this was probably the main talking point from the game, unfortunately. But the manner of conceding and the frustrating nature of it is, unfortunately, what sort of sits on people's minds a bit more, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. Especially because I don't like to try and pin results on little moments like that where, I don't think it was a penalty. I think it was extremely soft penalty. And I do see the side that, you could say it was clumsy because he put his hands on him. And as soon as you put your hands on a player, you give them the excuse to go down, but it was barely anything. But yeah, and then obviously up the other end, if you're giving the foul on Bailey, then Rice has to be penalised on Buendia.
That's baffling, but that's Premier League officiating, isn't it, this season?
Yeah.
Well, every season.
Yeah, it's the inconsistencies, and that's the main thing, really. Everyone says it's the inconsistencies because within a few hours you could have two decisions that are completely different for the same offence, and it's really frustrating. But I think the draw in the end was the fair result on the balance of play. But when you look at moments and margins, we were a soft penalty away from winning 1-0 because as much as they did trouble us at times, we kept them out apart from that penalty.
Yeah.
So it is one of those, and it was frustrating. I think you do have to be beating teams like West Ham in the sense that they're in the bottom three or just outside of the bottom three now. You do have to be beating them if you wanted to push higher, but at the same time, they're games that you can't lose at the same time. So if you get points on the board, it is still a positive result. And as I say, there was some good play again from us. They're playing through the lines, and there was a moment I think it was the second half, that one touch passing over the left hand side of their team.
Yeah.
It was really nice and fast, and we did give the ball away after it. But we didn't use C interchanges like that for months. I don't really think we saw it under Gerrard. It was more direct, more magic moments, and all that crap. But you can see the structure still, and we talked about last week how he's sort of changed the symmetry to be a little bit more symmetrical with the fullbacks. And then at the weekend, we saw Cash deeper again. So we see how fluid we are. And I think that was because we wanted to be a bit more brave in attack. We committed more forward, so we needed more stability at the back. So that makes sense. And I think that, when Carlos comes back in, we could see Konsa in that right back position, just naturally tucking in. So, yeah, it was more progress, I think. And I understood the frustration, maybe a little bit of anger in that. But overall, I was still pleased with that result, especially because we've lost 5 on the bounce against them. So, it was still positive in a sense.
Yeah, in the real context of things, if you'd have told me 7 from 9 out of the last 3, I'd be fine with that. Wouldn't be upset, wouldn't tell my nose up on it, because I don't think we're in a position where we can right now. I think, again, while we can sit back and say, I saw a couple of people say, I can't believe people are happy with the point. It's kind of understanding where we actually are at the moment. We're not actually a European club. We're not.
Yeah.
Whilst we're close enough to be within the conversation, possibly, we're not at the level of where, for example, if Newcastle hadn't managed to beat West Ham, that's where your question marks come up a bit more, or or like your Chelseas and your Liverpools and stuff. We're still not up at that level yet. And when you're fighting against the teams where you're not in a relegation battle, and you could go as far as say, I don't think it is. Some people have said it where realistically it could be a coast end to the season where you just see it's like a plateau, so almost. You're drawing games where you should be winning, you're losing games where you should be drawing, that sort of thing. And I think it's good to see that whilst we should have won that game, the performance wasn't awful. And that's what's more important to me is I really, all I care about right now is I don't want to see them drop off throughout the rest of the season. I just want to see performances to be top notch for the rest of it. I'm not expecting too much out of the results. I'm expecting more to see the performances. I think we say it every week now, but that's kind of my bit now, because you get to that stage where if you're not going to challenge for Europe, you want to see who's going to be where and who's going to be, probably your chances of next season. And it leads me beautifully on to my next point, because I'm one half of this podcast has been a big supporter of him for a good time and for good reason, I think. until recently. It's Leon Bailey. Now, of course, he did concede the penalty. It's extremely soft. It's one of those where it gets given for you, and you're like, okay. I mean,
We'll
I'm not
take
going
it.
to argue against it. It's one of those where VAR won't overturn it, but they would never give it ever. That would never be given.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the implication of VAR. But no matter what, my problem was that he put himself in a position for that to happen. He went so up close to a player that was walking away from goal, puts his hands on him. He looks clumsy in what he's doing, in like the jumping around like that. It just fools the eyes well enough that a referee's going to give a penalty. As soon as you're behind him and legs get tangled, someone goes down, it's usually a penalty. Aside from that, he just didn't give me anything all game apart from one shot that went way wide or way over, and that was it. And to me, Traore came on and did more than he did all game. I mean, he beat his man, which I don't think Bailey did.
Yeah. Well, before I go on to Bailey, I'd like to also, we didn't really touch on it, but it's a bit embarrassing from Paqueta as well. Going down like that. Yeah, I'd say about Air player if they did that as well. I don't like it. I know it's part of the game because I'm pretty sure coaches probably tell them if you feel a bit of contact, everyone does.
Especially in the position they're in now.
Yeah, so it was really annoying. But yeah, on to Bailey. I've been trying to be patient and back him up for quite a while. Doesn't look like it will work out. I think he's probably been the least improved under Emery. He's still been better. He's had his moments. You can't. I don't want to shit on him too much in that, but he just. I don't think he's the right man for this. I don't think he looks like he's got enough conviction in his game when it comes to trying to take his man on. He himself looks hesitant.
Yeah,
he needs to be more confident in what he's doing, and I don't think being more left-footed than right-footed helps. If he was two-footed, he'd probably be a much better player.
Yeah.
Even if he wasn't confident, it gives him more avenues to use. But he just seems too readable. You can push him back into his own half. So I'd still really like him to come good. But off the evidence we've got, he has moments 1 in 5 maybe.
Steven Gerrard, isn't it? He's a Steven Gerrard player. He is a magical moments player. I think we mentioned it before. I messaged
even then,
you
not
saying it.
enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's so tricky because you get these players and you see glimpses of what they can be. And unfortunately, the facts are sometimes it just doesn't happen for them or for you. It could happen that they go to another club and it works out fine, and you just don't get that. And that has happened too much for us, really.
Yeah.
And I think my problem is when I see the likes of Jean Duran or Traore come on and do more in their limited time. I know it's always easier to do a lot in the short bursts of time. I understand it's easier to show more in that time because all eyes are on you and you get subbed on, you're watching him. But my main problem was he was fresh from minute 1 and he kept getting the ball and did nothing with it then. And like you said, he is one-dimensional. It is shift it onto the left, he'll shoot. Shift him onto his right, he'll put a not great cross in. Probably 1 in 10 crosses meets one of us, and that's my issue with it. Is you get these players where, I mean, Anthony's quite a good example. He's fairly one-dimensional. He has the same idea each time, but at least he has a little bit that comes off of it. I don't have ever. I mean, again, like I said at the start, he cuts in on his left. I don't think that's going in the back of the net or that's troubling. It troubles me more than anything, to be honest with you. And yeah, I think I think we're all excited to see Traore come back in because it's like a new signing, really. I mean, he's got number 9 on. Is it just me or does he look taller? We were chatting about this. He looks so much taller.
Yeah, he does, which is weird because his hair would have made him taller before, but for some reason now he looks taller. I think he also looks a little bit bulkier. I think he used to look really lean, but it's almost like he's got a bit more physique to him now. But
I just can't imagine him putting that, the West Brom sort of, I can't even describe the goal, just the beauty. I can't imagine it. His physique now, it's really strange.
Yeah, he doesn't look he doesn't look the same player, but I mean, I guess he's not played a lot and he's had his injuries and that. But when he came on, he did look to beat his man. He also looked to link up, and he did beat his man now and again. You could see he was rusty, but I think you could see there was still something there that he could offer. What that is on a consistent basis, I don't know, but I think if he can come up with 2 or 3 contributions before the end of the season, that's 2 or 3 more than what we would have had, if you know what I mean. And on to John Duran. I thought he'd scored at the end when it comes to him at the corner. I'm not going to be harsh on him because it came really quick from I think it was like a knock on from the corner.
It was, yeah. It took a little deflection, didn't it?
Yeah, and as I say, he's on limited minutes too. He's not that sharp, but he causes problems. I knew he was quick, but there's one sprint he did to press their backline towards the end, and he looked rapid.
Yeah,
it's just like it's that Haaland sort of scary, his size as well as his pace. He's going to be a handful, and I'm looking forward to the next 12, 13 games. Can't remember how many he's left now. I think it's about 12. He's going to be
not enough.
Yeah, he's going to be exciting for that little run in, and I'd love him to get a goal soon, and I'd love it to be at the Holt end first. To be honest, that'd be a great moment. So there's a lot of positives still to take.
Yeah, I was with you as soon as it fell to him and it kind of came off his shin. I thought that's in. It's exciting because, like you said, it's a different type of player that we haven't had for a long time, I guess. Yeah, well, to be fair, we haven't had a new striker properly and come in with that sort of excitement, and it's the unknown I like. It's not knowing what he's going to bring and where he's going to be played and stuff. Obviously, when we brought Ings in, we knew what the deal was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting, and yeah, I agree with you. As much as I'd love to have scored the winner, obviously, I mean, the dream is really he scores next week at the Holt end to make it 10-0. I wouldn't mind that.
I hope so, because I'll be there. So
yeah, well, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, I've been scrambling for the past week trying. I was up refreshing the Villa page, everything, but I mean, the worst nightmare is, and I will say this now, because people do tend to slate the likes of me, maybe James, for not being able to go as much. It is, if you're not a season ticket holder, it's an absolute nightmare to get to Villa Park. Not only is the travel a nightmare, but then you've got to somehow get 2 tickets on different client references at the same place at the same time, which seemingly is impossible at the moment. I found one in the Trinity and one in the Holt, and I was like, don't think the missus is going to be too happy if I just leave her at the Trinity on her own. As much as I'd like to, I don't think I'm going to be able to sell that to her. So
you can get binoculars and wave to each other.
She just wouldn't turn up. She'd leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but yeah, I'm excited for it. It is hard to get tickets on general sale sometimes. I know that, like, in terms of if you're going with someone, because quite often, you can find ones dotted around, or maybe 2, but I'll go with mum and dad, so there's 3 of us, which is it's harder to find 3 together sometimes. So yeah, but they messaged me on the Monday, see if we can get tickets, and I managed to get some in the upper Trinity, which I like sitting there. It gives you a great view. It's a lot of stairs to go up, but it's worth it. It's going to be a good game, I think. It's not going to be easy. I watched Bournemouth against Liverpool. I saw bits of them against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago. They are looking like they've got a chance of staying up, and I've wrote them off straight away before the season. I think I wrote Fulham off as well, to be honest. So I was all over the place. But yeah, they're reasonably well organised. They will let us attack them to an extent, but they can play either direct or they can play some nice interplay, and they've got Dango Utara on the wing, and he's a handful, fast, and he can beat his man. And when you've got players like Billing who are a big presence in midfield, that's something that we always struggle against, is the strength and physicality of some teams. So that could be somewhere that we do struggle. And Solanke was quite good against Liverpool as well. So they've got outlets that we need to be aware of, but we should still take the game to them. And at Villa Park, we will be looking to be on the front foot more and pass it around, hopefully fast and with conviction again. And I think we will. I think we will win, and I really hope so, because the last time I went was Stevenage. So I don't want.
Shouldn't have even mentioned it.
Bad result. Yeah, I went for years when I was about 12, 13 years ago. I went on a run for like 3-4 years where I didn't see us lose at Villa Park, And then, yeah, that era.
I mean, well, yeah, I think the last 3 games I've been to were Derby at home 4-0, the playoff final, the first one, and Southampton at home where Danny Ings scored against us and Grealish scores an outside of the box little worldie at the whole end, but that was enough to win. Yeah, I've had terrible luck. I actually had one of the worst away records back when we weren't winning away. That was when I was a season ticket holder. My first away win was Ipswich. And I was going to the likes of Premier League away days, So I went to Bradford. So yeah, I mean, it's good to hear that neither of us are exactly beacons of good luck, and we've been starving the Villa fans ourselves by our distance. But I agree with you. It's these games are not going to be easy, and Bournemouth are one of the teams you definitely don't want to be playing right now because they're the ones coming off the back of a win. I have a really great performance against Arsenal again, where really they're unlucky not to get a point out of it. They are probably one of the ones that you look at making the great escape surge, really. And it's an ideal game for them. But again, I think it's an ideal game for us because at least then we know that this is going to be one of the teams which probably aren't going to camp back as much. Not like a Palace where it's probably going to be so cagey that it kills the game off. Bournemouth are going to have to come and win, and that probably suits us a bit more because it allows us a bit more freedom. Because my main worry with us again is like against West Ham, we can have the ball, but we don't have the quality enough on the ball to sort of dominate so much that we play the perfect pass each time and the perfect finish each time. We need those chances where you just make a good break, get the ball in, for example, from Moreno onto Watkins' head, onto Jean Duran's head, and it's in. We're not at that level yet where we can, camp on the edge of their box and continuously make good inward play. We're close, I think. We're probably a couple of signings and a few months off, but it's one of those games I think where we're going to just see not so cagey that it kills the game off, but it's no easy game, no way at all.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's again, it's like every week. It's going to be interesting to see the lineup. I'd be surprised if we see Bailey in the 11. I don't think even when he's not on form, I don't even think it's his sort of game either.
No.
But then we're missing Kamara. That was another thing that we didn't really speak about for West Ham. Missing him, we looked okay. But yeah, that's meant that McGinn's dropped in. And he did pretty well as well, considering it's not really somewhere I prefer him. It's not bad in the double pivot. It's just it shackles him again, and But I don't know who will start because it's almost like the lack of options. Bailey probably will, but it's not really his game.
Could you see I know he's got a hand injury, whatever that is, but I mean, if my mind goes to if Dendonker's fit, Dendonker comes in for Bailey, McGinn goes back out wide, and Dendonker slots in next to Louise.
Well, yeah, you've got Dendonker and Chambers that can play that role again, but then I think at the same time McGinn played that role pretty well at the weekend. So will he change it? I don't. But if you put Chambers there, you could have McGinn out wide and Ramsey on the other side, and then you could have Buendia next to Watkins then, and I think that sort of gives us more control of the game, which at home we probably will be likely to see. So maybe it will be Chambers that comes into midfield or Dendonker. It's probably going to be more likely to be Chambers because he's been the one that's coming on. He's come on in that role when Kamara got injured and he came on at the weekend. So
those misplaced passes, I can't watch them again. My God.
It is frustrating, but I do feel sorry for him in the sense that, as I said before, he's working on limited game time.
He's not coming into easy games, is he?
Yeah, exactly.
He's not coming into a 3-0 drubbing or anything. It's cagey games 2 times in a row.
Yeah, and when you're coming on as well, it doesn't help. I think if he starts, it might be a bit different because you start with the pace of the game instead of coming on into a game and trying to find the pace. So a lot is on Louise at the moment to be dictating our play, and he did against West Ham. He had a really good game again. So I would probably expect maybe Chambers comes in and then McGinn and Ramsey play the wide roles that drift in, and then Buendia and Watkins up top. But I wouldn't mind the same lineup, but Duran instead of Bailey. I'm not going to lie, that'd be nice. He adds a bit of something else, doesn't he? So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I know it's what you want as well because you're there. I can feel it. Like you want to see the players that you enjoy most, especially in the flesh. It's just natural, isn't it? Really, and
Yeah.
it's going to be. I'm interested to see how much it changes your outlook on like the way we play watching it, especially from the view you'll have up there. It will definitely might enhance it even more, to be honest. I'm quite excited. I do hope you take your little tactics board. I want to see notes. I want halftime pictures of your notepad like that sent to me.
My little Peppa Pig one that I've got over here.
Yeah.
This little Peppa Pig tactics board.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'll take that.
Camera hands up and you're like that.
Yeah, I'm sure the stewards will find that amusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like sitting in the upper Trinity. That's where I sat for Stevenage, and you get a really good view of the shape, and it's so much different, isn't it, when you're watching it there compared to on TV, because you see everything, you see the passes that are on and the space and where it is. So I like the atmosphere in the whole end and that, but I think upper Trinity is a really nice place to sit if you're into looking at the whole game and a tactics sort of side, which I don't like to sit the whole 90 minutes like with my tactics glasses on. I like to just be able to support, but I do find me, I like that side of the game, so it's the best of both worlds for me, I think. But yeah, it's exciting, and it's another 3:00 kickoff at home.
Yeah, again, perfect, really, isn't it? I mean, I like it because it just I like my weekend timetable. I like it rigid. 3:00 kickoff, then that's it. I can plan around that. It's the 2:00 on a Sunday that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That does.
I don't like it. I don't mind the 4:30 on a Sunday as much. I can sit down and have a drink at the end of a Sunday. But for me, either the early kickoff or the 3:00 kickoff on a Saturday is what I prefer. Or Friday night under the lights.
Friday night lights, yeah,
brilliant.
100%.
Love that.
Well, we got to do it. Prediction wise, I got to let you go first.
2-0 Villa. It's going to be Watkins again and Matty Cash.
I don't think we ever thought we'd get to a point where saying Watkins scoring is the obvious.
It just feels like it's going to happen, and I love it.
I like that. Yeah, I like the shout, to be honest. Well, I've gone 2-1, actually. I just see Billing scoring.
Yeah.
Just because it's him. And
he's done it against us before, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think that wasn't the same game where he should have been sent off for like 5 bookable offences in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Actually, I think he might have scored a couple against us now. I think.
But they always do. Like those types of players just seem to bag one against us. Thomas Souček is one that I was shocked didn't score against us. Those types of players just tend to score against Villa.
Fornells has got a good record as well.
Yeah, I was worried when he came on. Yeah, I think Billing scores. Obviously, Watkins will bag another. I'm actually going to say Tyrone Mings again.
I'd love that. A little birthday, doesn't?
Yeah, it's today, is it not?
Yeah.
Today, yeah. I can't just go and say happy birthday like he's watching. Known subscriber to the AVFC Faithful podcast is our Tyrone.
Hello, Tom. How you doing, King?
Yeah.
I just thought of something I wanted to say that we didn't touch on for West Ham. The cross from Alex Moreno was bloody beautiful, man. It was. I can't remember really the last time that we scored from a cross from a left back like that. It was so nice to see. It was. The thing is, like when he came in, I remember us talking about him, and I said that his main route to goal really was he gets to the byline and cuts it back, which we've seen quite often, to be fair.
Yeah.
But he's shown a couple of times that he can whip in a good cross from deep, and that was perfect. And you have to say as well, the header from Watkins was good because keepers are going to struggle to get to that. I think it's headed down and then into the top corner.
Yeah,
it's a really, really good finish. So, yeah, that goal all round was nice play.
It was lovely. It's one of those. You weren't, not that you weren't expecting it, but again, it's just not a goal you see Villa score, and I loved it. But again, it's Moreno assisting Watkins, which is like what I imagine every time we line up. Is I want to see that going on because I love Moreno, and I think he's adapted already. I think my only, it's not really a criticism of him, but he's not where he differs from Luke Dean is he's not too keen to get too physical into the game yet. And I think that's the adaptation to the league, where he's used to being able to not, and he's slowly recognizing, oh, okay, I've got to just, when Bowen's going into, you just got to meet him, and you got to meet that ball. You can't really afford to have that extra yard because they are quick enough. I mean, you wouldn't even think Jared Bowen's that quick, but he is, and he was showing it that a couple of times he managed to outpace old Alex, and it's not, again, it is. I will not sit here and slate him because he has been here for 2 months, and he's already much better than Luca Dean at the moment for me. And it's a topic for another video, shall we say? But that goal. I'll be replaying that one because I like an aesthetically pleasing goal, like Tottenham away. The Douglas Luiz goal. I can watch that on repeat. Just give me any of that. Sometimes I prefer that to like a 40-yard thunderbolt. A 40-year-old could score one. To be fair, Ashley Young could knock one off, but
took a turn, this has.
I forgot. That's a video for the other podcast. My bad.
Yeah, but Moreno, I've been, I don't want to be over the top. I don't want to slate him or anything. He's been good. I think I like his game. He's got a bit of pace that he can offer. He likes to dribble. He's still getting used to the team, as you say. He's adapting, and I think defensively he's still, he's a bit shaky at times, but it's still a new league. He's only 7, maybe 8 games in 2 months at most. So I've been pleased with him. I genuinely like nothing against Luca Dean, but I'm much happier when I see Moreno on the starting lineup. So so far I'm happy with that business that we've done with him.
Yeah, that 60th minute substitution's weird to me. I was interested. We were talking about it, and I was like, I have to ask James, what do you think is the reason for that? Because I was watching the game, and I don't think Moreno was struggling at the point he got taken off. I was interested to see what you reckon that might be, because he's not, from what I know, Moreno's not carrying an injury or a knock or anything that limits his game time.
No, I think he's just it's like another Trezeguet El Ghazi substitution.
It feels like it, don't it?
Yeah, but I think, I don't know if Emery sees Digne as the more defensive fullback. I don't know whether that's because he knows the league a bit more. But I don't know. I think I've always said to you before, I think Dean's is a more of a technical player. He likes to link up and play into midfield, whereas Moreno is more of a attacking, get to the byline sort of player. So that they're different in that sense. But I think both have their weaknesses defensively in general. So I would like to know Emery's reasoning behind that sub quite often. It must be just a preference for him for a particular reason. But yeah, I like Moreno. I'm really happy that we've got him.
Good. Well, I was just interested because it was baffling me, and it's been a few times now where it almost feels like he's kind of experimenting mid-game, and I don't know. It just, I guess I don't like it just because I like watching Alex Moreno play the whole 90, and I kind of get upset that I don't get to watch. And when I see Luke Dean, I feel like, okay, we've kind of lost the left. And again, another thing I wanted to touch on was Jacob Ramsey. I think he grew into the game really well. The first 15 minutes, he was a passenger. I think it's fair to say he was not in the game, and that's a shame because when he is in the game, as we saw, he's brilliant. And I think he's slowly coming back. It feels, so I know he's been back for a while, but it feels like we haven't actually had him back to where he was. It feels like he's sort of maybe growing back into the game as he plays almost.
He's building up again, isn't he? I think I'd probably go even further. In that first 15 minutes, he was probably quite negative, his impact on the team. Not for his drive and that, but he couldn't really find his man with a pass that often. No. But as you say, he definitely grew into the game. And I think, looking at the stats, he had 3 key passes. So, he was creating chances as well. We know what his game is. He likes to pick the ball up, run from deep, link up 1-2s and get into the box. That's invaluable when you've got a powerful player like that. And we've got another player like that in Tim, which we'll touch on another time. But yeah, I think when you think about all of these players over the last 2 years, they've had 3 different styles of play that they've had to adapt to. The back end of Smith, the end of
this
Smith
podcast
era.
has gone fucking wild.
and then obviously to Gerard Ball, which is basically do what you want.
Gerard's what?
Gerard Ball. Gerard Ball, where he's just like open up the midfield and try and control a game in your own manner. And now, obviously, this is the most tactical approach that we've had. You hear every player talk about it. It's really in depth and detailed. And I think, obviously, this is a new area of the pitch where he's not really used to, in the sense that he's got to do that defensive work out wide, but then he's got to drift in and make up that box with the other side of midfield. So it's a different style of play for him again. And I think once he adapts to that, if we can get him into the box more often, we've seen he's a goal scoring midfielder, and that's what I hope to see a bit more of again.
Fingers crossed, eh? Wow, we got 1-2-0 and a 2-1. So fingers crossed, you're the winner there, because I wouldn't mind another clean sheet at home. And
that'd be nice.
All I hope is it's just another brilliant game again for you. I'm sure the atmosphere will match. 3:00 kickoff at Villa Park. Hope the weather kicks on a bit. Obviously, it's it's a big week for the horses, but to be honest, I don't care where they finish, only where the Villa finish. So, as always, I'll take it this week, James. Don't worry. Just make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Smash the notification button as well. Make sure to follow on Spotify as well. I believe, obviously, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. I'm not going to pretend like I know how they work right now. I don't think I've ever even seen the apps, to be honest. But however you do that, please do it the correct way for us. That's how that's going to work. But yeah, so we'll be recording a couple more videos this week, and if you don't see it before, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, up the Villa.